All right, so let's get started on this mock technical interview project. I have the acceptance criteria over here, the objectives, the different levels, and then I'm just going to go ahead and get my app um, loading or installed. And while that is installing, I'm going to run through the different objectives. So for this mock technical, this is going to be for a engineer role, and it's going to be for a React engineer with TypeScript as our language. And they want us to demonstrate our ability to implement features progressively. So this exercise is tiered into levels, allowing you to showcase your skills as you complete each stage, and we're going to have an hour. So the um, this project, it wants you to focus on time management, prioritizing, completing the level sequentially. Don't have to reach all the levels. Focus on quality over quantity. Use TypeScript effectively with interfaces and types where appropriate. Handle asynchronous ops and potential errors gracefully. And then make sure you focus on clean code, um, user experience, and while UI is not the primary focus, just want to make sure it looks good and it's responsive. All right. So this is still installing. Let's go over the first level. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is creating a new React application. Okay, so that's what we've got that started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to fetch the user data from a mock API endpoint users. So let's look at this endpoint and just kind of see what kind of object we're going to be returning. You can do that here. Okay. So it looks like an array of objects with each user. We have IDs, which is good. We can use that for a key later. We have names, usernames, emails, nested objects with addresses and companies, and then phone numbers, websites, etc. So just your typical response object, nothing too crazy. All right, so the next thing is the first thing it wants you to do is display the users on the page, showing their name and email. All right, so we're going to focus on these two properties, name and email. Perfect. All right, so let's look at our project. Looks like we are running, we have our app running. Great. We have all our node modules, we have our package JSON with all our scripts, we have our lock JSON with our dependencies. Looks like we already have a testing library installed, so that's good. And then if we look through our source, you can see the app.js. That's going to hold this page, our initial app page, and our landing page, wherever you want to call it. Sometimes, this is where you would use your routing. We also have, hang on one second, I'm getting a cold, of course. Where was I? So we have our app.js. It looks like we already have a test folder or file available to us. So that's great. It's just rendering our app. And then we have some initial styles, some global styles. So this is good. We can use this, just to kind of keep, it looks like it's already got some good styling for responsive design. Yeah. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my app and I'm going to just clear out all this boilerplate code and remove this logo because we don't need it. So this can give us a clean slate. It looks like for the first objective, we're going to want to have a component. So looks like we could do something like users or user page or user profile. So let's get our components folder created. And then let's do a common as well for our reusable components. And then let's do a folder for our services. That's going to hold our HTTP requests. And then in this services folder, let's put a file. Let's call this service or request get users. Okay, so for this, it looks like we can just do a fetch. So I cannot pull that out of my brain. I'm going to be straight up about that. Let's just go to this documentation and make sure that we have the syntax correct. So I'm just going to copy this fetch request, throw it in here, save some time. And I'm going to rename it to get users. It makes more sense for our application. Get users, and then I'm going to export this so it's available globally. And then I'm going to plug this link into our URL. And then it looks like we are trying for a response, waiting to fetch that URL. If the response is not okay, we're going to throw this error that has the response and the status. So that's good. That'll give us a network error, and we can see what that response status is. And then if we get through the try and all is well, then it's going to return this JSON object here, and then we're console logging. Let's move this in front, on top so we can actually access the console log. And then our catch here with an error message. Awesome. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is create our parent component. And that's going to be, I think I said user profile. That seems to be a good name for something that is going to hold our users. I'm going to move my screen over here a little bit so I have more coding space. So to set up our React component, why this is being weird, but it's fine. We can just manually type it. And then let me see if there's anything else. Guidelines, functional component with use state and use effect. So let's just go ahead and throw those guys in there. All right. Define appropriate TypeScript interfaces. Okay, so looks like we have strings, numbers, strings. Okay, looks good. Display the list of users on the page showing their names and emails. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is get our functional component, export default function, user profile. And here, let's just return a div, something that that will hold our JSX. And then in there, let's just go ahead and throw something like an H1 that says users, okay? And then to get this on the page, let's go into our app and import user profile. Good. Gotta add that TSX on there. And we should be good to go after that. Beautiful. We have our users. Okay, our page. And then let's go ahead and close this guy out. And also, if we pull up our console, we should, well, we're not calling that get users anywhere yet. So the next thing we need to do is get our users. So let's establish some state. Um, looks like we're going to be using an asynchronous fetch request. So we need a promise. And then our state, we're going to use, let's see, let's create a piece of state called users, and then a function set users, set users. Yes, that sounds good. Okay, and then we're going to set that equal to use state, and then in there, we'll just have an array because it is an array of objects. And let's go ahead and get our interface of types for users. And then we can do a name type string. We can do a, what was that, email string. And then we're going to need that ID for later. We'll use the number type for that. So now, since we have this object up here for our types, let's go ahead and set our use state to users here. Okay, that looks good. So now let's retrieve our users, and we're going to do that in our use effect. I'm just going to pull up the use effect syntax as well. Just to be safe. We want to use this on mount because we want to do it when the page renders. Okay. And then in here, let's get our users. And then that makes sense. So literally use a dot then. All right. Let's go ahead and import this. Oh, did I call it set users? No, I called it get users. Why are you being funky? That's fine. Yeah, import get users. There we go. And then we're going to need to add that. I don't know what it is. I think I have a setting or something where it doesn't import the file type. Maybe it's TypeScript, maybe it's my linter, but I don't know, something's funky with that. And then on the dot then, we are going to set our users here. And then we can console logs. Actually, let's do this outside of the use effect. Let's see, we'll call this user data. And what our users look like after we get that from our HTTP request here. And then actually I'm going to get rid of this console so that we just have it retrieve our and not duplicating in the console here. All right, so I'm going to refresh this page. Looks like we have our user data. Everything looks good. This right here is a little concerning though, because it looks like there's something going on with the load time of our user data, which from the asynchronous, we have a promise here, but it's, there is some load time for this data from render of this page. So let's just handle that before we get too far into our project. Let's have a loading state. So let's do is loading set is loading, and then I need to camel paste that. Users, set users, looks good. Okay, and this is going to just be a Boolean here so that we can use it to um, load our, we'll just have like a some sort of lazy loader or something so that we can account for that asynchronous data. Yeah, looks good. And we're going to set this to true as our initial state. So the way we're going to do this is instead of setting the users here, we're going to pass in a parameter of data, and then in this function here, let's set users to data. And then once the data, the promise is satisfied, then we can set that is loading to false. So what that's going to do is essentially just give us some sort of rendering element so that the user knows that that data is loading and they're not just sitting there like twiddling their thumbs, what's happening. So I'm just going to throw a conditional, we'll do an H5 in here. So we'll wrap the H5 in a is loading and have that basically just say, hey, content is loading. That way, gives a visual indication to the user. So when I refresh my page, I should get that content is loading. There we go. All right, so the next step we are going to do is just display the user. So let's, I guess, just display, map over our user object and return each username and each user email. So let's see, users map. And then in there, we're going to have a parameter for user. And then in here, we're going to return, or let's just have a P paragraph here. And in that paragraph, I'm going to access the user name and the user email. And I'm just going to throw a little colon in there, give it some space. And let's format the document. What's going on here? Oh, I need a key. And then we're going to use that as our key. All right, looks good. I think that we have satisfied the level 1 objective. Create a new TypeScript application. Yes, guidelines. We've got use state, appropriate TypeScript interfaces, users. Yes, looks great. All right, level 2, search functionality. I'm going to get rid of this console. And then it looks like they want us to implement a search bar that allows the user to filter. They used, looks like they used the word filter for a reason. The display list by the user's name. Okay. Update the state based on the search input. So we're going to want to have some sort of value that updates it's a dynamic update. Ensure the search is case sensitive. So it looks like they're wanting us to use some sort of method that's going to ensure for case sensitivity. And so let's just put some of these. Let's see, filter case sensitive, sensitive, sensitive. I never said I could spell. Okay, case sensitive, and then user friendly. Okay. Um, so for this, we have our users. It looks like we're going to want to filter our users in some form. So let's create a reusable component for our search bar. That's going to be the first thing I want to do. Just go ahead and import React and get that search bar component wireframed out. Export function. And then in there, let's just return a simple div as well. And then default is spelled wrong. D-A, default, default. There we go. And then in here, let's just throw an H1. Hello. And then let's go ahead and import this here so we know we have it linked up. So I would assume that we would want this under the users. So I'm just going to do a break here. Don't want to take up too much time with like extensive styling. And then we're just going to throw our component in here. Set, no, what do we call it? Search bar. And we don't have any props yet for the search bar, but we do want to make sure that it is communicating with our parent component here. So good to go. All right, so the next thing I want to do is figure out how I can get the user data to communicate with the search bar and the functionality that I want to implement with the search bar, which is the user typing text into an input. That text is somehow filtering the data of users. So let's set up some state for how we want to filter down our users. Search user, set, set search user. Okay, this looks good. This is going to be a string because each user is a string. So the name and the email is a string. It looks like we are just searching by the user to filter the list by just the user's name. So we're just going to use the name right now. Use state. Set that to initialize that as an empty string. So it looks like we are going to want to take care of these two objectives. So filter down the users. Let's do a filtered users variable. And let's map over the users. No, we're going to filter the users. Sorry. We're already mapping them down here, so we don't need that. And in this filter, let's filter by, let me think about this. Also, little iffy on the syntax for this filter, but we'll get there. Um, Let me think. So we're going to want to, if it includes, we're going to want to filter each search the user. And then if it includes a, um, let me think, if it includes whatever we type into the search bar. So let's go ahead and have a way to communicate what we're typing into the search bar, which is going to be through props interface, I believe. Search bar props. So we want it to store the value of the string that we are typing in, and then we want it to set the string so that's also going to be a value of string, and we're going to pass in both of our props into the component. Let's see, Control V. Wrap these guys in a curly brace, and then I like to copy paste because I am notorious for typing errors. So I just it helps me avoid spelling mistakes. Okay, so in this div, let's go ahead and set up our search bar. So let's call this search, and then search user. Okay, so we should get that label there. Beautiful. And then let's do an input. Type text. Good. Give it a title. And it's type text. Our value is going to be each search user. Search user, what we're searching the user by. Search user, okay. And then when we type into this search bar, we want to store the value of the when the value changes by setting the value. So we want to have a event that takes in a value, and then well, I can't remember if there's a return and an on change. It's okay. We're going to set the searched user to that target value. I think that's correct. We'll find out. The console will tell me. Okay, so I think that we're good here. We have some, I think these are old errors. We'll refresh this and see what's going on. Yeah, good to go. And then over here, we're missing our props now. So let's get our props initialized. Go in here. Boom. And then we're going to have our prop for setting the user. All right, so now we are typing in here and we need to display, we're storing these values, they're talking to each other, things are happening. But we need to have some uh, logic here that updates the filtered users by filtering over, oh man, what do I need to filter? This filter, users filter, um, if it includes filter, oh, got it. Uh, yeah, so we're going to set a parameter for user, and then we're going to use the name. If the username includes, oh, the username includes whatever the search user, search, okay, let's also, before we do the includes, let's take care of the case sensitivity. So dot two lowercase. Okay. And then we also want to make sure that the uh, return data is in the same format. So two lowercase for that one as well. Okay. So what's going on here? Expects a return value from an arrow function. It's just something's messed up with my syntax. User. Okay. I think that this does not need, I think filter is different. So hang on, let me look up filter. I cannot remember the syntax for that. Filter syntax. Element arrow with a object. This is grepper. This is a little extension you can get, and it pulls relevant information out of the pages, so you don't actually have to click into the pages. It's kind of nice for just at a glance information, and people can upvote and downvote, which makes it really nice. Let's see what I'm doing wrong on the, I think I had it right with the arrow function, and then user. I'll click into this. Where's my Mozilla? Let's just look at this guy. Dot filter. All right. We have our parameter here. And then I just need two of these. Maybe I have too many of these. And then I need this guy back. Hmm. We got that one closed. We got that one closed. Well, maybe. Oh no, what's happening? Okay, we got both of our open parenthesis, close parenthesis, two lowercase, parsing error. Maybe we don't need this. Maybe we're good with just the parentheses. That looks like it. That looks good. Maybe you only need the brackets when it's an array. But this is an array, yeah, of users. No. Yeah, it's an array. I don't know. Well, we can go over that later. Maybe that can be something that I would in the interview, maybe we could ask a question about that. You know, get the senior perspective, maybe ask why that would not be wrapped in a curly. But we do have our filtered users now. We are filtering them by the name, making sure they're all case sensitive. Using this includes method to check the searched user, which is being pulled from the state of our search bar, and also converting it to lowercase just to make sure that you can type a capital or a lowercase and it will still pull the same data. So now let's plug our filtered users into here. So we're mapping over that instead of our users. And we should still be displaying all of our users because this still accounts for our users here. And then if I type into the search bar, just by name. So actually, let's put username here so that the um, user knows that they can only search by the username or just the name, username, because it is a username, but there's also a username here, and that could be confusing. So let's not do that. We'll just say search name. So now if I type a capital L E A, we should get Leanne. If I do a lowercase L-E-A, we should get Leanne. Let's look for something that has two of the same. So it looks like we have a Clem. We have two Clementines. So yeah, we're good. There's a Clementine and a Clementina. So Clementina. Okay, great. Looks like we've satisfied the second objective. Implement a search bar, update the state based on the search input, ensure this is case sensitive, keep a UI responsive and user friendly. Okay, so let's move on to level 3, sorting feature. Add functionality to sort the user list alphabetically by name or by email. Okay, so let's put these notes in here. We want to sort A to Z. Or name. Provide buttons or drop down to select. So that's going to be our trigger is a UI element, a button that would sort it, or a drop down. I feel like a drop down is a little bit more elegant than a button. So let's do that instead. Guidelines, sorting without mutating the original data. Okay, so it looks like we want to use the same data. We're just going to um, sort on that data and then allow toggling between ascending and descending. Okay, so if we have time, we can do A to Z and Z to A. All right, so that looks good. All right, the next step is just optimization. Then we have unit test. So let's just try to get through this step and then we can write a few tests if we have time. Okay, so for this one, we can do another component use a modular reusable component. We'll call this sort user. We'll import React again. And let's just set up our component. Sort default function. Sorting by name or email. So sort user. And then let's just return something that we know so that we know that we have a sort component. Let's get this guy on the page as well. Okay, nice. I don't know why when I do imports for components, it attaches the correct file path, but I have to do it manually for sometimes. I don't know what's going on with that. All right, so let's think this through. We want to sort by name or email. We're already filtering the users. So let's get a drop down. A drop down on the page and just go from there. So we'll call this a select, call this sort. Let's have a title, okay. This sort as well for accessibility. Sort, what do we do for this one? Search user, so sort user, okay. Then we'll have some options. We're gonna want one for provide a drop down, sort by name or email. And then they want us to be able to toggle back and forth. So obviously in, outside of these mock interviews, there's going to be libraries that you can have that, have tables with sorting features built in. We have our little down and up carrots that, we can toggle, and usually those have an on click that are just, intuitive. You can just throw those in there and, you know, uh, utilize those libraries. But here, we're going to have to figure out a way to mimic that with our options. So for this first value, let's just do name A, because this is going to start with the ascending. So we'll do name Z. And then let's do the same thing, but we'll call this Z for descending and flip these from Z to A. And then we'll do the same thing for email. Okay, and then email A to Z. I don't know why I have that as the first one. Okay, name A to Z, name Z to A, name email A to Z, email Z to A. Okay, that looks good. It's not the best solution, but it'll work for this, for what we're trying to achieve. Um, so let's create a function that's going to sort, or sorry, not a function, let's do a variable sorted users. I'm gonna sorted, because this is filtered, so we're gonna have sorted users. And let's set that equal to filtered users, because we're going to take all of these that are already sorted. We still want to use the sorting. We still want to use the filtered, be able to access the filtered users. So we're going to have different options that we can sort by. So we have the option of email, or we have the option of name. So let's set our set option. Not so well. Okay. Sort option, set sort option. And this is going to be a string as well. State. Initialize that as an empty string as well. Okay. So we're going to need to do something with our filtered users. And we want to use a property value or a attribute, some sort of value. Close this guy. So we have these values. So when we click on an option, we're going to want to store the value of which option we are selecting and use that to trigger how this variable stores the data of filter that are of the filtered users. So we have our action item here, and we have a way to store it. So let's sort on we're going to sort A to B. You just sort on the users? No, we already have the users here. Okay, so we're going to sort A to B. So that's essentially ascending order. And then in here, let's take we're going to think about a way that we can store the value if it starts with name. We're going to want to do a comparison of all of the selections based off of the sort option. So if the sort option if the sort option starts with name A, we want to return the All right, let me think about this. If the sort option starts with name, we want to return um, a dot name, and then we need to a dot name, compare that to the name. Okay, that feels good to me. Um, and then here, let's go ahead and pull our props in. Interface, sort user, and we just want a value that's going to on the change. So whatever they select. So we just want the sort option to be stored, which is the value of string, because it's a string value. And we want to store that here. Let's pass in props. Okay. And then on our select, this is where we want to keep track of what the user selects with the set sort option here. And then we're passing this back to our component here. Oh, set sort option. Set sort option. All right. So we need each one of these. Oh, no, we need a value here. We need to store the value of what the sort option is. So let's do that here. So we're going to set the sort option to the value of what the user selects. And then with the target value. Okay, that way we're storing the value of name A, Z, email A, email Z, passing it back to this component, which has access to the sort option. We can do a comparison here from A to B. We can do a second comparison here that's looking for the value of name Z. That looks for the descending. We can do a third comparison here. It's looking for email and doing a ascending comparison. And then we're going to do the same thing here, looking for the descending with the email. We need to change all these to email as well. B to A. And then email. Okay. And our default is going to be a 0 here. Okay. I think this is good. And then we can display our sorted users based on if we want to display one or the other. Let's just throw this in here. Sorted users. And then we can work on the UI. And then this should be about where we need to be because we're seeing both right now. We don't have any console errors. That's good. We don't have any errors in your terminal here. So C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, C, E, G, those are good. So now we're looking C, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, S, T. So this one should start with Telly and then have these two if we go backwards. Telly, sincere. Okay. All right, this looks good. Um, if I'm, being nitpicky, I would like to go through and maybe if I'm searching for by the usernames, they were looking for Curtis. I would probably want to have a way to search by email or by username, or sorry, just the name, and only display the names alphabetically or the emails based on which one you toggle. Maybe have two selects, maybe one for just the emails to toggle and then one for just the names to toggle alphabetically. So you can have one display or the other. Maybe do some sort of ternary here with if it includes we could do if sort option starts with name, display the username. Something like sort option because that will take care of these two use cases. If it starts with name, then just display the username. No, I don't need the curlies here. If that username else user email. That way, when we select a name, it's only going to show the names. And if we select an email, it's only going to show the emails. Yeah, that looks good. All right, I'm satisfied with that solution. Level 4 optimized code. Take into consideration some of these principles of structuring your code, clean code, abstracting logic, and then write unit tests for your components. So for this one, I'm actually going to follow up with a second video on writing some user tests. But yeah, Thanks for watching. This has been fun. And, I hit a couple hiccups, but Google's your friend. You can always look up, the syntax and ask questions. Um, and yeah, get some input from uh, your engineers, the seniors and the staff that are conducting the interview. Um, ask questions, and yeah, I think I feel good about this. So, all right, thank you. Have a good day.